Hello viewers, welcome back. We are now looking at our next video, and this is the second last video that we are going to talk about in our chapter 3. So it is all about estimation of the assumptions for the forecasts. So next up, what we are going to do is that we have done the calculations. We've done the calculations here in these cells, in these columns, and we generated these formulas in black font. So what we are going to do, we are going to use those same calculations that we generated, the actual assumptions, to help us estimate into the future. Here we are going to use those that are going to help us to estimate into the future all these values there. We are going to use those actuals to estimate the assumptions that we are going to use, some of the assumptions that we are going to use in the future. So we are obviously going to put these forecasts in blue. In other words, they are going to be like our hard-coded numbers, and they are going to be with the blue font. Since they are going to be used as inputs, because what we are getting from that highlighted section is what we are going to feed, or is what we are going to use to compute the forecasts, the actual values or figures for the income statement for all the 5 years of forecasting. So probably the quickest way to do this is going to be with a quick fill right. So we are going to highlight all these values. We are going to highlight all these values, and we are going to start from these actuals, actually actuals of 2013. These ones, we are going to highlight downwards using our shift key with shift and down arrow. So we hold down the shift key, then we highlight across, because we want also to highlight going this side. But now the only thing that we want to get from that, we want to highlight across up to this year 2024, the forecast for that year 2024. And now what we are going to do, we are going to fill right, which is a Control R, to have that in place. Now we have all these formats in place, because what we basically need from those values, we only need the formats. The rest we are going to insert the values. Maybe the other thing that we need to talk about is we want these to be in blue font. But what we've copied is now in black font. The whole of this 2024 forecast, everything is in black. But now we need to change from that black font to a blue font, and we are changing those forecasts of 2024. So what we are going to do, we use the shortcut Alt H for home, then we go to FC for font color. Then now we have these recent colors, and we are going to aim for that dark blue, the one you are seeing. So you can see we already programmed these font colors because we've been using them. So that we are going to use that dark blue font. So it's the one that we are going to fill all the way through that column for 2024 forecast. So now let's use our tab key to move along to those blue font or the dark blue color, and we place enter for those to be changed to that color that we want. So we've changed the font color to blue. The reason as why we are changing them, because these are going to be inputs to the other income statement. That's why we are putting them in blue. So the formats are now loaded. Now let's generate the inputs. So the next thing that we always look at when we are generating these inputs, in most cases or in real life situations, these are always judgment calls, or they are based on someone's judgment. And effectively, what you are going to be doing at this moment is we are going to look for figures. We are going to look at the figures for these 2020, for these actuals. These are the figures that we are looking at. But right now, as you are forecasting, if you are forecasting 2023, the main focus is always on 2022. If you are forecasting 2024, the focus is on 2023. So we are going to shift our attention to have only the 2024 values. Sorry, the 2023. They are the ones that we are going to focus on when you are forecasting the values for 2024. So we are going to estimate what might be reasonable for the future down throughout this column of 2024. What might be reasonable, and we are going to forecast basing on the actuals of 2023. So it seems like for revenue we are seeing that the 10% of 2023, it seems that revenue growth might be reasonable for us. We can actually maintain that 10%. We can just type in 10%. We hit the enter key. We can also see that 2 years, these 2 years here of cost of goods sold, it was about 45% of the revenue that we've earned. So we can also put in that 45%. We can maintain the 45% even for the year 2024. We can put in 45%. So we've put in our year 2020, sorry, that 45%, and we hit enter. And now there is something I want us to notice, because you see, if I put in 45% and I hit enter, the cursor doesn't move. The cursor doesn't move downwards, meaning within our settings, we didn't set that if you are dealing in those tables, maybe we can actually have the cursor be moving downwards when we enter values. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you are supposed to set that in that format, that you are supposed to set those things in that format, that your computer is supposed to be set in that way. When you press an enter key, the cursor is supposed to move automatically to the next cell. But now the question is, what are you going to be doing here if the cursor doesn't actually move after you have pressed the enter key? So what you are going to do here is just to highlight down. You can just highlight, you hold down the shift key and you highlight using your down arrow. You hold down the shift key, use the down arrow to highlight, like the way you've seen. And then you can just hit in, you can just put in the figures and you just be pressing enter and things will be moving like the way we did in our first videos. Those were the introductory things that we spoke about. So I don't want you to get stuck. Some of the things I put them there to just to remind ourselves on things that we are supposed to do. So let's now just start putting in those numbers and we hit the enter key. and everything will move down for us. So now for instance, here we have the SG&A. This one for 2023, SG&A has been 18,150. So we need to increase. Maybe we can increase or slow. Of course, in real life, you may find that some of the things they are going to increase because of inflation and all that. So we can put it to, let's say 20. So this is 45. Let's enter. Let's first highlight this. This is 45. Enter. Then this one we can maybe put 20,000. Then we hit the enter key. Now we can now move to the depreciation. Depreciation was as a percentage of revenue. So we could also increase that maybe to 6 or 5%. Let's just take 5%. Let's take 5. Hit the enter key. Then, and now for the interest. For the interest, we can also maintain it to 1,000. Then the last bit of tax rate, we can also maintain it at 30%. It's also reasonable. We just maintain the tax rate to 30%. So we've done what we were supposed to do. But now we've put in the information, all the hard codes that we need. But there is something I want us to actually recognize. You are seeing this 20,000 here, and also this 10,000. Sorry, the 1,000. Those values that you're seeing there, those values are actually in millions. The 20,000 here and the 10,000 there, we all know that these values, the other one is 20 million and this other one is 1 million. Because we have also to take note of our global units marker. That we've said that here, as you're seeing from this point, we can see that all figures are in US dollars, thousands, unless stated. We've not stated that those are not in thousands. So whatever is here is in thousand, as long as they are figures. I don't want you to have those percentages and you say they are also in thousand. No, the point is with the values. So now we have completed one of the forecasts for the year 2024. We've done all of it for this year 2024. We've finished all its forecasts. But now we want to finish also these other ones. So the easiest way of completing moving forward to 2028 is we are just going to select, as you see, we've selected downwards. Then we can now go and do a fill right, or we do a fill right by first highlighting all those cells. So what we do, we can do a fill right by holding down the shift key, we highlight across like that, then we do a fill right. A fill right is Control R. Control R is what brings us to that fill right. So by doing that, it's going to populate all those values in there. And we've seen that we have got all the projections for those 5 years that we've been looking for. And now, one thing I want you to know is that here we are just making something, we are just making a rough estimate. But in a real life, or in real life situations, you may find, or in practice, you may find when these things actually change. Like for SG&A, you may find the inflation is high. The costs are going to be increasing more often. You may find that even the revenue growth, it may not necessarily be 10% that you are growing at a constant rate. You may find it is going to 8, then it goes maybe to 12, to 20. So those are the ones that are going to be in the real life situations. But at the moment, we are just making it easy for you by having some of those, by having some consistency within the values. We've maintained those values for the 5 years, maybe for 5 years. So that's what you should also note, because these figures, they are not going to be all that consistent, just like the way we've maintained them. You may find that this year they are increasing, the other year they are reducing. So don't forget that in reality, you may also find yourself have to maybe to deal with different changes within the revenue rate. Maybe the SG&A may also increase, maybe inflation and all that. There are so many things that can cause some of those things to either increase or decrease. But at the moment, let's take it like the way you are seeing from that point. So now you are seeing that it's a bit, the work looks a bit nicer, and we've put in some good formats that are actually standing out for the viewers. Now, in the next video, we are just going to jump down in this quadrant here, this fourth section here. This is the section that we are going to start with. That's the section that we are going to work on, because it is the last part that we want to build, because we want also to build out that and we also finish it. But don't forget that these are also future forecasts, and since they are forecasts, what we are going to be doing, we are going to use formulas. We are going to be taking formulas, and we are going to base on the actual assumptions. We are going to be taking these formulas, the formulas we put in these actual assumptions, these formulas here, these formulas we put in here, they are the ones that we are going to base on to make sure that we fill this other section. But what we are only going to do, we are going to just effectively reversing those formulas to come up with these estimates for the different line items. We are going to just reverse those to come up with some of these items, like for that revenue line item, for example. So those are the things that we are going to look at, and we see how we can be able to obtain some of those values for cost of goods sold, for gross profit and all that. There are so many things until we reach to the final point of the net income. So the next video is going to start from the future formulas, or the formulas that we are going to use to project the future values that we need from that highlighted section. So we'll see you in the next video.